right of the people, baby.
To truly choose to love is heroic.
Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.
It takes the willingness to stand by and do what has to be done when it has to be done.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Off the Shelf Book Club. My name is Jermaine.
My name is Jessalin.
And we're excited to get back into this. We're on Chapter 5, Private Prisons and the Demands to Defund. Before we get into that, I want to remind you, follow, like, and subscribe our channel. Hype this video. Make sure that you check out our social medias. We really appreciate all the support that you guys give. Make sure that you're sharing the video. Everybody needs to do the knowledge and be ready. We need to educate our communities. And this is an easy way to have a community of education. You know what I mean? And we're doing this for free. You could do this all for free, especially with this book. And you could share it. Make sure you check out the ebook. It's down in our description. If anybody that you know needs resources, get help reading, down in our description. Make sure you check that out. And before we get into our chapter, let's get into our land acknowledgement.
All right. The Off the Shelf Book Club wants to offer our utmost respect to those who came before us on this land. It is important that we protect and acknowledge the history of the indigenous people of America. Minnesota Makoche, which means land of the water that reflects the sky, is homeland to the Dakota and Anishinaabe people. Minnesota, in particular, has taken a part in the has a history in taking a part in genocide of Native people in multiple treaties that have stripped them from their homelands. Where Off the Shelf Book Club resides is home to the Minnetonka people, which means dwellers of the Spirit Lake.
Awesome. Thank you. And then just getting into it, what are your thoughts about Chapter 5?
I thought Chapter 5 I feel like it did, in a way, kind of go a little bit more in depth in how our local governments really does play a big role in how ICE and DHS maneuver in our communities and how they're able to. And so, to get a little bit more in depth in that, I think is very valuable, especially in times right now, because it just really lets us know, hey, at the end of the day, the reason why they're even here in the first place, the even reason why they're even able to hold people is because somebody in your local government let them.
Yes.
Somebody in our local government is allowing them to use the Whipple building.
Yep. That there's always this like you said, this chapter really displayed the complacency within all of our local government and our bigger government too. It's a lot of complacency. There's a lot of things that this whole book has gone over that has shown how did we allow this to pass. And when we heard that this passed, or when these people that we elected allow these things to pass, why did we allow them to stay in office? Mm-hmm. I also really appreciate this chapter because it displayed yes, there's an issue within private prisons. Yes, huge issue within that. But the private prisons are also connected to our local governments just as much as our county jails. They just as much as they depend on the economy, our county jails depend on the economy. They all are very lockstep. They help each other out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they benefit off of each other, and she does a very good job of displaying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so getting into Chapter 5, here are the questions that we have.
First question is, how can we get people to understand that more funding in the police state doesn't mean better care, but better ways state-sanctioned violence can occur?
And the second question is, if the goal is deportation, then why do we have so many contracts and increase the amount of detention centers?
I think for this first question in particularly is that, like, there's this weird notion. I shouldn't say weird, because I think that it comes from a lot of how we have been indoctrinated in terms of like how like police run and how both I think our police and military run, is that if we provide them with more money, then these prisons, these police officers, even in the military, can either like provide better care for people in there, or will help get with like harm reduction and help, with all those things. But that's so far from the truth, because the reality is how much money gets put into that constantly. We still see these issues persist. Right? At the end of the day, billions and billions of dollars every single year get put into DHS and ICE, and yet we have yet to see actual proper conditions in these places. So then where's the money going? Mm-hmm. If we have yet to see a better conditions for these immigrants, then where is the money going? It's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. It's just sitting there, and then they ask for more, and then they get more. And that's the same thing for like our police as well, is that a lot of the times like they don't even use all their money, but yet somehow they're magically able to increase the amount that they get all the time. Why would we do that? They're not making the streets safer necessarily. They're not, but they're also not.
Like, I don't understand why we need to, like, if you're trying to actively bring down the statistics of something happening, why is there a minimum quota then? Mm-hmm. Like, that just doesn't make sense. And why is that quota going up along with, like you said, the budget? You know what I mean? These budgets are constantly increasing, and these quotas are constantly increasing, and you're saying we're trying to be tough on crime. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's been 50 years of this whole tough on crime act, and there's a constant funnel going towards this. Like, you should have dealt with this issue by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like with, never mind. That's not really a fair comparison, but, yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
It also, like, actively tells us that what they're doing isn't working. Because if it did, well, then we'd be seeing less migrants. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Well, it is and it isn't, right? Like, we would be seeing, right, less migrants as case, and yet for some reason, right, the amount of people that they end up in detention centers keep getting higher, right, in terms of that space. Same goes for prisons, right? Like, if police are doing their actual job, if prisons are doing the jobs that they're supposed to do, there wouldn't be as many people in there as there is today, because a lot of the people that are in there are repeat offenders and all those things and all, and whatnot. And that just means that what's happening isn't working. And my thing is, like, why can't we acknowledge the fact that it's not working? Because if it did work, recidivism rate for prisoners, for example, wouldn't be like, I think it's like 70-something%.
Yeah.
That means that they're leaving, right? They're leaving jail, they're leaving prison, and then they do something to get them back in there. That shouldn't be happening, right? Technically, what should be happening, right, is what they're telling us is that they did their punishment, they did their time, and then they won't do it again. But that's not the case. So, same with, right, immigration. Like, this should technically be keeping people from migrating here, but it's not. So what's, like, it's not working, which means that it needs to be changed. Not fixed, but changed.
Right, exactly, because it wasn't always like, these tactics weren't always being used towards these issues, and they weren't deemed issues before. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we created these things to deal with this artificial issue that the United States has made. And we create like ICE, we create the DHS, we create all these things to fight back this artificial issue. Now we need to create new things to dismantle and reform all the things that have gone wrong and the aftermath. Deal with, not take away the word reform, but like deal with the aftermath of what these terrible organizations have done to our communities. Mm-hmm. Because that's it is a business. It's a business. Because we're constantly looking for, like in business, you're constantly looking for profits, especially in capitalism. You're when you're mega capitalistic corporation, you're constantly looking for expansion, and we see that the constant expansion is due to these immigration laws, but it's also because of the DHS budget. Every year since it was created, it's constantly went up. So what can we do to start moving forward on dismantling this and ensuring that these people aren't having an economic benefit to detaining our community members? It's just, yeah. Like, why are we making money off of crime, period? Why should we be making money off of that? That doesn't make sense. Mm-mm. How is that a business model? How is that a business model? Because we look at private prisons and we could say that's wrong, right? We could sit there and majority of people agree that that is wrong. So much so that eventually, federally, it did become abolished for a while.
Abolished. Huh? Is it not abolished?
I'm talking about with
they remove themselves from that industry from the best of their abilities.
Yeah, that's sorry. Wrong words. But yeah. We can get away from that, but we understand that private prisons are bad because we shouldn't be making money off of that, and we separate ourselves from that. Why aren't we doing that the same with our current structure? Because why are we making money off of it? It shouldn't be a business because you're trying to bring it down.
And I think a big thing too that we need to start asking our political leaders, we need to start asking ourselves this, right? Everybody wants to be able to reduce crime. I think everybody can have the consensus that we want to reduce the amount of crime happening. Something that is making a whole lot of money for people, though. Why would you want to reduce something that is making a whole lot of money? Mm-hmm. It means that all of these things that they're doing isn't actually reducing it, it's providing ways to make more money. They just want more, like, everybody wants more money. That's what they're doing, right? They're not actually stopping crime because why would they when it makes them so much money?
Exactly. Like, why on page 132, she says, take the Northwest Detention Center as an example. NWDC, a GEO group run facility in Tacoma, Washington, has a capacity of 1,575 beds, and the current guaranteed minimum is 1,181. If ICE exceeds the minimum number of people detained, GEO gives the agency a discount to detain up to an additional 394 people a day. A discount. We're having discounts for quotas. These type of models incentivize ICE to round up more people. ICE is already not only paying for some beds, regardless of how many people are locked up, but also saving money if it detains more immigrants, since tiered pricing operates as a coupon. And if you're constantly having these quotas and you're trying to also get a discount, you don't think that malpractice is going to happen, that illegal things are going to happen, inhumane things are going to happen, innocent people will be taken, innocent people will be affected. Like, why are we giving discounts to ICE? Like, make that make sense. Make that shit make sense.
It's crazy work.
You're incentivizing them to catch more people. You're incentivizing this issue to continue to grow. That's why it is an artificial issue.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention the blatant lying of situations, right? But that's another thing. Right? Between the lying of like situations that never happened or didn't happen like that to, right, incentivizing ICE to go out and basically round people up. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense. Our suffering as people should never be the outcome of money making.
Exactly. But right now it seems like just us as a people, we're so numb to that. Mm-hmm. We're just numb to that.
And that's with any situation. Doesn't matter if we're talking about migrants. Doesn't matter if it's talking about you yourself at work. Your suffering specifically, and everybody else's, should not be the outcome of money making.
Yep. Nobody should be profiting off of your pain. Point blank, period. And when we realize this, we will start to actually force the change that needs to happen. Because, like, multiple times in this chapter, but like specifically on page 135, anti-private prison activists often claim that the profit-driven nature of private prisons incentivizes them to reduce costs, creating worse conditions of confinement. Yet this perspective ignores the fact that government-run prisons and jails are equally driven by the market forces and often cut costs to generate revenue amid deficits in municipal or state budgets. Another cause for alarm is the role private prison companies play in lobbying for harsher sentencing laws. So these companies can sit here and, one, they can pay our fucking government officials to make harsher laws, to get more people in there, to raise the quotas, to do this, to do that, to bring more beds into their prisons. And we allow, like, at this point, we as a people, we have to start going at their heads, telling them what it is.
I think the fact that can happen in itself should be illegal.
Right. That should be illegal. That is like damn near inside trading, it feels like. I know it's not.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's not inside trading.
That is?
It's like, not inside trading, no. But it's like, I guess it kind of is, though, at the same point.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
We could... There's an argument for that. I'd have to really think about that, but that's a good fucking point. Is that damn near is like inside trading.
Like, I think you can, like, I think that anybody should be able to try and persuade your politicians to do what you want, because at the end of the day, they represent you.
But paying them.
But paying them to do that shit?
And
Oh,
also
hell no.
profiting off of the fact that they passed that bill.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yes, and that's why private prisons are bad. But also understand that our county and state jails and prisons are also benefiting off of the market. Like, they also have free labor. Again, look at the damn 13th Amendment. So they are just as much incentivized to fucking terrorize people.
I wonder what it would be like if, like, because, you know, our politicians run on donations, right? They're able to run for office on donations, you know? Mm-hmm. But those donations, right, come from companies. They come from companies, and then that's how they're like, I'll give you all this type of money as long as you make sure you do this and whatnot. What if we took that away?
Yeah.
And not necessarily the fact on, not even necessarily donations, but like companies as a whole cannot just pay.
Well, then you
somebody.
would have, I understand that, where you're going with that, but also there's like, then the individual can still pay.
It could.
Like individual CEOs and shit like that, which
but
I guess could deter a little bit more.
It would deter a little bit because you can't pay based on your company. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you could still pay based off your company. You'd just be doing it as an individual.
Well, if you took donations away as a whole, which I feel like you could do in the day, like in the age of like social media and stuff, you technically don't need to go state to state per se, you know, and do your little campaign things, right? I could argue that you don't necessarily have to do that anymore because of how social media runs. Mm-hmm. It's an option. What would that look like then?
And part of, she said a quote in here that like really, really, really like, it kind of connects to what we're saying right now. But I feel like she hit the nail right on the damn head. She said, people would much rather blame evil corporations than their own government for the problems with this world. And that's just the reality.
Shit,
because
they're not even willing to blame the goddamn evil corporations at this point.
Right. And the evil corporations in our government like to be lockstep with each other. And we have to start just acknowledging that and moving forward with that. Point blank period. There ain't nothing like, don't tell me anything else. That's it. That's it. That's it, dog. What else do you want me to say? Mm-hmm. Like, what else is there? We understand that there's lobbying. All right. Every motherfucker, like, comes down to like with Zionism too. We are anti-Zionist here. We're not with that. And all y'all motherfuckers getting paid by APEC. Ooh, I said it again. I'm sorry.
Them people.
All y'all people getting paid by APEC. All right, you're out. We get you out. We as a people need to stop. Like, we can no longer accept that they are doing this to us. No, defund APEC, or divest from APEC. Sorry. Keep on saying defund. I'm messing up all my words. No, we need to divest from APEC. Point blank period. And if your local politician isn't, demand them to, or they don't get your vote. And at the end of the day, the more of us that do that, the more that we can do. Like, we actually have to start taking to the streets. Like, this winter, it was a long, cold winter, and it was hard to be out there. But that's got to be a regular for us now. That's going to have to be regular for us right now. It's going to be a long summer, too. Because it ain't going to stop. Because there's a reality that it has been passed down from one administration to another. It doesn't matter if there's a D or there's a fucking R behind their name. They're still going to continue to fund these monsters, to fund the beast. And we cannot We can't accept that anymore.
I would like to say this. It's Minnesota. It's extremely cold. It's hella cold out here. Talking about negatives. We was reaching negative 30s. And those were the days where we had to be outside. Those were even the days where we was inside being cozy. No, those were the days where we was being outside being active. And I feel like if we could step outside in negative 30-degree weather, you can step outside under any circumstance. Because there were a couple of times I think I might have gotten frostbite by accident.
For real. And it's like, I want to read this last, like, it's like a paragraph-ish, half this last paragraph of 145 into 146, because it's just talking about, I'm tired of this left-right bullshit. The right, if you support the right, sorry, you're a fucking Nazi. You're on that shit. Because these policies, I don't care how you try to convince it. No. It is wrong. And then the Democrats, we act like, oh, they're so much better because they they passed a few things that were actually kind of good. But does it take away from the fact that they're still hurting marginalized communities? Nobody's freedom should be at the cost of anybody's freedom, because then who's actually free? Let me just... From 145 to 146, abolitionist activist and writer Kay Whitlock notes that the hate frame often results in people believing that harm happens because of irrational personal prejudice. And in this view, hate is not about structures, not about power hierarchies, not about institutional practice. The focus on hate thus absolves the system already in place. The term hate meant something because Trump was in office, and it was easy for people to see him as an aberration rather than a successor in line of U.S. presidents committed to increasing detention and deportations. Under Biden, the concept of hate doesn't get us very far because Biden is perceived as a status quo. And therefore, his immigration policies, even if some of them are the same as Trump's, are more acceptable. However, defund remains an important abolitionist demand and strategy that helps people see the extreme inequities in the federal budget on immigration, while also aligning with cross-movement efforts to defund the police, prisons, and the military. Because all these motherfuckers are passing the ball. Sorry, I said it again. All these presidents, all these administrations, all these Congress people, all these people in the Senate, they are passing the ball. They're passing the ball. Like I said this comparison before. It's like that picture of LeBron dunking it and D-Wade going like this. Nah. We got the starting five of the Miami Heat. That's all these presidents. They all passed the ball back. They're doing the shuffle. They getting it together. 96 Bulls type shit. They've been doing this for years upon years, and we can't act like the play ain't in our face. They're not playing in our face. We see it year after year. When do we say no? How much is $1 worth to you? Because that's all this is about. Is it worth the enslavement of people? Is it worth dehumanizing people?
No, it's not. That's your answer. That should be your answer, at least.
And if that ain't your answer, you're on that side. And we can accept that. But remember, you're on that side when it comes down to the time. We have to flip it on its head. We have to shake the government to its senses. Because this ain't regular. This ain't normal. This ain't normal. The last thing I want to say is from this here, because it wraps up everything that we said, and what can we do to, like, how do we have, like, a bright future? How do we have a hopeful future? And from 146 to 147, it says, if the Biden administration or future administration extends the phase out of private prisons beyond DOJ to ICE facilities, it won't be because advocates and journalists made the case that private prisons are inherently evil. It will be because ordinary people, both those detained by ICE and in communities across the country, called for an end to detention altogether. Y'all seen the horrors. Y'all seen what they're capable of. The people in Minnesota know now. You couldn't look away. Our Mexican, our immigration community all knows all too well. The nation saw what we went through. When are we have to start stepping up? No, like we can't take this shit no more. We have to. That's it. We have to take to the streets. We have to demand our electives. We have to demand way more from them. And if they don't, that's their job. That's their job. Bye-bye. Now who's up? And we keep it going. We keep it going. We cannot trust the government. We have to trust the people.
Mm-hmm. Power to the people. Put the power in the people's hands.
You want best for your community. Just as much as you want what's best for your family, yourself being, you would want for the place that you are staying in. So why do we not trust our community?
Yep.
You know what's best for your community. Just like you know what's best for yourself. You know what's best for your community.
Well, actually, some of you don't know what's
So,
best for your
let me
community.
take that back.
But with that being said, maybe you should go out into your community and
Right.
learn what they need.
Right. But we do have to start putting more power into the people's hands and showing them what we can do with it. Yeah, that's where the power is. We also have to wake up and educate ourselves too. So,
rise and shine.
yeah, that's where we ended. All right. Well, that was a really short episode of the Off the Shelf Book Club. I believe this is episode 14.
Yes.
Well, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. We're both a little bit under the weather and just kind of real busy as of lately, so appreciate y'all being understanding. But we are trying to get back on schedule with everything, and you can expect that with this next episode, everything will be back to normal. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We wish you all nothing but great health and wealth, peace of mind. Make sure y'all doing the knowledge and spreading the knowledge. We need to all be there. And we need to make sure that we're constantly investing into tomorrow, man. We need to remember that. But yeah, we wish y'all nothing but great health and wealth, peace of mind, and hope y'all have a great rest of your week. Ashe.
Ashe.
I write it to people, baby.
To truly choose to love is heroic.
Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.